and welcome back to Spin in Prague with me, Tara. Today we are going to be talking about the wonders of fusion in Prague. Now, we always straight away think of jazz fusion, which is going to be talked about plenty, don't worry. But I want to kind of look at different types of fusion as well. Now, the reason I am doing this episode is because I've got a radio show on Prog Radio every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern. And I do a theme every week. And a few weeks ago I did a theme on fusion and it was really good, like a really unusual episode. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of expand on it here a little bit and talk about it with all of you guys. So that's what we're going to do today. I hope you're ready. I know a lot of you here love fusion. And yeah, anything you have to say, please put it in the comments. And we'll have a good discussion. So I'm going to start off with all the jazz fusion. So Santana came to my mind first, somehow. Usually it's Mahavishnu, but Santana. Welcome by Santana in particular. Now this album actually features Alice Coltrane, John Coltrane's widow, opening up the album with this very strange piano sound. And of course John McLaughlin features on Love, Devotion and Surrender. It's a really, really cool album. Santana always did this thing where he could take prog, rock, Latina kind of music, funky and jazz, and just fuse it all together in this amazing way. And yeah, the music is just awesome, fantastic. So number one is Santana. Number two, of course, Mahavishnu Orchestra. They're like the gods of jazz fusion, pretty much. The album I went with for the show was Visions of the Emerald Beyond, but of course you could do Birds of Fire as well, you could do The Inner Mounting Flame, like any Mahavishnu, really. Fantastic band. John McLaughlin, of course, behind that too. Billy Cobham on the drums, absolutely tearing at a new one. The entire band, just crazy talented people on a plane of their own. So that's number two, Mahavishnu Orchestra. Let me just get my little list here, it's on my phone. Alright. Asabecia. Now there is an odd one that I actually forgot about when I did the show, so I wanted to include them here today. They fly under the radar a lot, Asabecia. I think a lot of people just know them for their Roger Dean covers. They had a couple of Roger Dean covers with like a flying elephant creature on the front. I'll have to insert a picture. But yeah, their stuff is it's actually very similar, in my opinion, to Santana's stuff. Very funky, very jazzy. Obviously you get that kind of Latina, kind of Africana dance music in there as well. It's weird, you'd have to listen to it. It's hard to describe, but it's so good. It's awesome. I'm raging I forgot to put them in the show. So yeah, Asabecia, number 3. Number 4, Steely Dan. Now, Steely Dan actually managed to take jazz fusion and put a bit of soul music in there as well. And of course the album I went with was Asia, which is my favourite Steely Dan album. And one of like my top produced albums. The production on that is like something I've never heard before. It was like sitting in the studio with them. Yeah, fantastic band, really odd way of playing the music, really strange fusion techniques in there. Yeah, the title track, of course, is so jazzy, especially the drumming on it. Very, very jazzy. So, Steely Dan. Now, Gong. We all know I love Gong. And I always talk about the Dave Allen period of Gong because of Flying Teapot and Angel's Egg and You and all that, and I love the characters and the kind of the weirdness of it. But Dave Allen's period ended and Pierre Morlan took over. And the album that he brought out first when he took over was called Shamal. So it's kind of a transitional album, if you will, between the two periods. And Shamal is very funky and so jazz fusiony. And you know, there was more albums with Pierre Morland's Gong, and it was like, it was actually, I think it was up there with Mahavishnu stuff. Like, it's mad, really good jazz fusion stuff. Yeah, so Pierre Morland's Gong, absolutely fantastic stuff. Alright, so also, yes, I have little notes here because I always forget to say things. That album, Shamal, by Gong, was produced by Nick Mason, the drummer from Pink Floyd, which I think is a cool little fact there. And he did a fantastic job. If you don't know it, check it out. It's awesome. So now I'm going to go into what I think is still fusion, but it's not quite jazz fusion. It's different kind of world music fused with prog. So there's a group called Tian Kai. Alright, now I'd say not a lot of people know who they are. You've definitely heard me on this channel talking about Jia Wobble. Jia Wobble married a Chinese lady, and they have two boys, Charlie and John. And Charlie and John, of course, are big into music, you know, growing up around their dad, of course. And they have actually started to pursue it themselves, which is awesome. So their group is called Tian Kai, and they are really, really going in the prog direction. And there's a little bit of jazz fusion in there, but there is loads of Chinese music fused in with the prog. It's really, really unusual. They're always posting videos like, what would you call this genre? Because no one knows. It's really strange. And they have one album that they brought out last year, and it's called Incantation, and it's awesome. It's really cool. They're two young guys in their 20s, and I just think it's very brave to come out and do something like that, as weird as that, in this day and age, because, you know, it's hard to get noticed unless you're going to be mainstream, pretty much. But yeah, so Chiang Kai, Chinese fusion, really cool stuff. Okay, up next I have Focus. Focus, you might think, Tara, what kind of fusion are Focus? Focus are folk music fused with prog. They are mental. We all know Hocus Pocus. There is some insane yodeling in there, insane flute solos, all sorts of stuff. Tis Van Leer just going absolutely mental in there. That's him yodeling. Yeah, their stuff is just, it's brilliant. It's really well done, but it's weird. And I love the way they took the folk music and still had it very prominent, but managed to fuse it then with the prog music. Just fantastic. Like, these people, I can't. Why couldn't I get some talent like that? Alright, next I have the Horselips, close to my heart, Irish prog. And what did they fuse? You may be thinking, what is she on about? Irish trad music fused with prog music. Really, really cool, really unusual. The example I used in my show was the Book of Invasions, and I think I played like 5 or 6 tracks off it. Because it starts off real solemn, and this kind of marching tune comes in, and then the Irish trad music starts, and then, you know, it goes into Trouble with a capital T, which was a very big one for them. Really cool stuff. My personal favourite by them is the Tawn, which is another really strange kind of fusion thing. It's all about Irish myths and legends as well. Like the Tawn, for example, is about a bull that Connacht and Ulster are fighting over. It's mental, alright, it's weird, okay? But if you get a copy of it, there's like a little story that you can read along with while you're listening to the album. It's really cool. The Book of Invasions is the same. But yeah, that fusion aspect, it was just so brave. Again, like at the time, you know, they did this back in the 70s. And you know, they didn't get enough recognition. Like, oh, it always happens with Ireland, except for Tin Lizzy, of course. Like, they got the recognition. But anything prog that came out of Ireland was just, no, didn't do very well. But yeah, the Horselips, Irish trad music fused with prog. Really cool stuff. And then, of course, what does prog music find its roots in? Classical music. And a lot of bands really went out of their way to prominently showcase the classical side of music and just have a little bit of prog rock in there. And one of my favourite examples of that is Toccata, the cover Emerson, Lake and Palmer did of it, because, you know, it's a very well-known classical tune. It's used in all sorts of things, but the way they did it, it's just mad. Like, you know, I'm hearing it in my head now, and I'm hearing all the weird electronic-y space sounds that Keith Emerson put in on it. It's mental. But yeah, and I mean, speaking of Keith Emerson, his work with the Nice, of course, was very, very classical. People like to say it's kind of the beginnings of prog would come out with the Nice, as well as other bands, of course, like King Crimson and Procol Harum and everything. But again, prominently showcasing the classical side fused with the prog side. You might think I'm mad now, and you're like, what in the name of God is she on about? But this, I just find this interesting to think about, and hopefully you do too. And of course, Yes did it as well. The first thing that comes to mind is the start of Awaken. Rick Wakeman's little classical kind of keyboard stuff at the start of that. Very cool. And then it goes into this big epic prog tune, of course. But yeah, anyway, that's all for today. I just wanted to come on and have a quick little chat with you about this because it's so exciting. I'm going to go off and listen to all this music now. Please be sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button, because that helps me so much. And if you haven't already hit the notification bell, I would really appreciate if you could. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and let me know now in the comments. I would love to have like a proper discussion with you all about this stuff, because I'm very interested in other people's opinions about it too. It's a weird one that I haven't really seen discussed much on other channels. Of course, there's plenty of jazz fusion videos, but about the aspect of other things like the folk music, the Chinese music, the Irish music, and the classical and stuff. So yeah, please let me know. I love the way prog bands can just take whatever they want and pop it in with the prog. It's just so cool. Yeah, so I will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!